Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Stacy Varghese, and I'm the Director of Leadership Annual Giving and Engagement at St. John's University. Today, we have Jeanne Ardan and Thomas Blennau, who will give us insight in career opportunities in law. Some housekeeping rules before we begin. If you have a question, please submit it on the bottom right in the Q&A section to panelists and host, and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. Now, I'm excited to introduce our speakers. Jeanne Ardan is Associate Dean for Career Development and Externships and an adjunct professor at St. John's University School of Law. She received her Bachelor of Arts in English from Fordham University and her Juris Doctor cum laude from St. John's University School of Law, where she was Articles and Notes Editor of the American Bankruptcy Institute Law Review. Following her graduation, Jeanne became a member of the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut bars. As the Associate Dean for Career Development and Externships, Jeanne counsels students and fellow alumni, plans career-related programs and events, conducts employer outreach, and supervises the staff and handles daily operations of the office. Thomas Blennau is Associate Director of Employer Outreach and an adjunct professor at St. John's University School of Law. After receiving his Bachelor of Business Administration from Adelphi University, he received his Juris Doctor cum laude from St. John's University School of Law, graduating in the top 15% of his class. Tom returned to his alma mater as the Associate Director of Employer Outreach in the Career Development Office. In this role, Tom spends the majority of his time on the road, visiting employers and alumni with a focus on strengthening and developing relationships, assisting with recruiting needs, and generating new employment and externship opportunities for the students and alumni of St. John's University School of Law. Welcome, Jeanne and Tom. I will hand the webinar's controls over to you now.
Thanks, Stacy. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Welcome. It's exciting to be able to speak to you guys today about career opportunities in the law. It's something that Jeanne and I obviously speak about on a regular basis with our team. Occasionally, our families indulge us in those conversations as well, but it's good to be able to speak to a group like this today of our alumni about this topic and just share with you guys a little bit about our thoughts on some of the effects of the pandemic, where we see things going, and just in general some thoughts on career opportunities in law. So having said that, I was going to turn it over to Jeanne to speak to us a little bit about career development at St. John's Law and kind of what that looks like.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you for having us, Stacy, and we're excited to be here. We thought it would be helpful to tell you a little bit about the Career Development Office at St. John's so you would see where we're coming from and our perspective. So we're really going to be talking to you from the lens of the career development world at a New York law school. So here at St. John's, our Career Development Office is broken up basically into two teams. We have a counseling team and an employer outreach team. And the counseling team works with students from the time they start law school all the way throughout their time here at St. John's and even beyond. As alumni, we continue to work with our graduates. And we take a very individualized and proactive approach to career development. Our approach is also very integrated in that we work very closely with our faculty, other administrators, as well as alumni to help achieve our student success. And our goal is really to help our students and graduates to get satisfying employment throughout law school and upon graduation. Our employer outreach team also takes this proactive and individualized approach. We work very closely with employers to really understand their needs, and then we can collaborate between the counselors and the employer outreach team to really find a good fit for the particular employer and for the particular student. And it's because of this proactive and individualized approach that we were really able to pivot and work individually with our students and our graduates, as well as our employers, when the public health crisis hit. And I think Tom's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges that we saw when that took place.
So, very interesting times. I think the initial reaction is we, Jeannie, myself, our team, we didn't really know what to expect. We knew we needed to be prepared to deal with whatever the situation was going to, however it would unfold, but we really weren't sure. So we felt, or at least I felt from my perspective, it was really important to keep my finger on the pulse of what was going on with our employers, the employers that we were working with. And I guess the way I would sum it up is I think, Jeannie, it's probably fair to say that it was a very cautious response that we saw initially. What we were seeing was some of the some of the larger firms were suspending or canceling their summer programs, which were scheduled to begin just a couple months later. I think some of the employers, especially on the small to mid-size, firms and organizations, were really cautious about their recruiting efforts, where they traditionally may have been looking to bring on some students or some graduates in the coming months. They were hesitating to do that, right? Not knowing what the situation would bring. And I think, what we were able to do is spend time maintaining the relationships with these employers and sharing some thoughts with them about what we were seeing going on in the marketplace, which I think was helpful from their perspective, and also, like I said, just listening to them and letting them know that whatever the situation would bring, we would be there to help them when the need arose. So when they were ready to move forward with their recruiting efforts, if they needed to make changes in connection with their recruiting efforts, whether that meant interviewing candidates virtually, whether that meant employing relationships where, or changing the employment relationships to hybrid or remote opportunities, we were there to help them along the way. And so that really was, I think, our role and how we kind of dealt with the challenges I think that our employers were facing.
And so, as Tom said, we had to respond to the employer's reactions, and we did this in a variety of ways. So first, when we went on lockdown, we really had to figure out what we were going to do with our externship program. And that program is run out of the Career Development Office. And, one of the things we really had to make sure that our students would get is that they would continue to get a substantial lawyering experience where they would receive adequate supervision and regular feedback from their externship placements. And although now students were going to have to be working remote, we had to make sure that they were still getting ample work. And we were able to make that happen for our students so that they continue to have a very positive learning experience through the externship program. Additionally, we typically have a spring break service trip. And due to the pandemic, travel really wasn't happening, but we wanted our students to still be able to give back during the spring break period and develop their legal skills while giving back. So we were one of the only law schools that pivoted, and instead of having a spring break service trip, we ended up having a spring break service program. And we worked with many local public interest organizations to provide remote opportunities for our students to work during spring break and give back and develop their skills. And of course, as Tom mentioned, we did see some summer programs being suspended or reduced, and it was a little bit more difficult than normal for our students to be able to obtain summer employment. Yet we know that building their skills over the summer is really so vital to their practical skill development and to build their resumes. So we developed the summer employment program, where we were able to employ over 50 students over the course of the summer in a varied research assistant type positions with our clinics, with individual faculty members, as library pool research assistants. And because of generous donations from alumni like you, the students were able to get paid and continue to develop their skills and build their resume really without skipping a beat. And so now that we are starting to recover from the worst of the pandemic, we are starting to see an uptick in a variety of opportunities. And that includes the traditional opportunities that you would expect to see. So we are seeing private practice starting to grow. Firms, both small, medium, and large, are looking to hire now. They are hiring for the summer. They are beginning to hire entry level as well as lateral attorneys as well. We're seeing more internship and externship opportunities with employers, including public interest organizations and government agencies. And we're seeing more opportunities with in-house legal employers, which traditionally had been reserved for attorneys with several years of experience. But we are seeing more and more entry-level opportunities in the in-house world.
And I think to transition from what Jeannie was saying, I think, when we look back, I guess almost 2 years now, I don't know that we could have ever predicted kind of where we are right now. And I guess what I would say is where we are, the outlook seems pretty bright right now. I think we're very fortunate that the firms and the organizations that we're working with seem to be in growth mode right now. We are enjoying some steady, I call them, the market-based tailwinds. And, what we're seeing is really overall demand in many of these opportunities, as well as compensation, both seem to be on the rise. I think when we look at the compensation being on the rise, we look at, the market right now being a very competitive market. I will say that I think that holds true from the student-based opportunities all the way through the we call lateral opportunities on the postgraduate side. And I think because there are so many new opportunities that are out there, candidates are starting to play opportunities off of each other. We're seeing things taking place on the compensation side that we haven't seen in a while. We're seeing the large firms increasing compensation, which traditionally only happens every few years. But we're also seeing that momentum on the small firm side and the the in-house side, as Jeannie was mentioning. And so, in a nutshell, it's a good time to be graduating law school. It's a good time to be a law student or considering law school based on the number of opportunities that are available and the increases that we're seeing on the compensation side. And one of the other things that I think we're noting is that some unique things are happening on the compensation side. Is that in order for the firms and organizations to stay competitive, they are considering things strategies that they haven't employed in the past. We're seeing sign-on bonuses being offered, which traditionally we did not see. We're seeing some firms looking to incentivize by offering to increase salaries upon passage of the bar exam or upon admission to the bar. So firms and organizations are getting creative in ways of coming up with compensation packages in order to draw in the talent that they're seeking to fill their positions with. So I guess in part of the changing landscape also that we're seeing just in the types of opportunities, a couple of things that we've noticed. And one of these I think goes back a number of years now, and Jeannie and I were talking about it earlier. I have come from a background in financial services where I worked in-house, and that was during the financial crisis. And what we saw right after that on the in-house side in financial services was obviously an uptick in compliance-related opportunities. That stemmed from, Dodd-Frank and the implementation of many of the regulations that the banks were now subject to. And so many new compliance-related opportunities were being created. The other thing we've seen is on the claims side, where in-house firms were traditionally where the attorneys were being employed for the insurance companies. We were seeing the insurance companies were now looking to place law grads in those positions. And also what we're seeing now as well is some new alternative legal careers, what we call alternative legal careers, meaning outside of the traditional ones that Jeanne mentioned earlier. And where we're seeing an uptick there is in areas like investment banking and private equity, in areas like insurance. Different from what I spoke about on the claims side, on the insurance side, we're seeing some new opportunities being created in new markets in insurance. So I can give you an example of a couple of alum who we work very closely with, who have gone on now to work at relatively new companies that write insurance policies for reps and warranties in mergers and acquisition deals. So a very niche business on the insurance side. And they are finding that it's very beneficial for them to recruit recent law grads and experienced attorneys into those positions. And then the other positions I would say that we're starting to see the uptick as well on the HR and the recruitment side. And I guess the question is why? Like why are we seeing these types of alternative opportunities in compliance, in claims, financial services, insurance? And I think from what we're hearing and what we're reading, the answer kind of lies in the skill sets that these employers are recognizing law students and law grads bring to the table. And so when we talk about the skill sets, we've thought a lot about this, and we kind of think about the skill sets that the employers are looking for as we communicate with them in two different respects. One, the traditional set of skills that law students and recent law grads bring to the table. And then something that we've started to think a little bit more about, which are the professional skill sets that these individuals also offer. And I'll speak a little bit about the traditional skill sets. So I think when you think of law school and you think of the doctrinal learning that goes on, you think a lot about the traditional research and writing skills, the analytical skills that are developed in those types of classes, problem solving, things like that. Well, if you look at these types of skill sets, you kind of better understand now why some of those employers that I just mentioned earlier are seeking out JD candidates for these types of opportunities, because these are the skills that they're finding that bring success in those types of positions and to their business. And so on the traditional side, obviously within law school, those are all skills that the students are continuing to work on through many of their doctrinal classes and the traditional path that law school offers. On the other hand, we also have professional skill sets, and obviously Jeanne, as the head of career development, is very involved in the development of those skills, and we'll speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. In fact, the Institute for the Advancement of the American Legal System, they polled over 24,000 attorneys to see, what are the skills that they are looking for in their employees, in the attorneys that they hire. And some of the skills that they have identified may surprise you because, while research, writing, analytical, and problem-solving skills are so important, many of the skills that they identified as important are professional in nature. So we can talk about some examples of those skill sets. So the top 10 skills that they identified that lawyers need in the short term included things like keeping confidentiality, something as simple as arriving on time, honoring commitments. They look for integrity and trustworthiness, treating others with respect and courtesy, listening attentively and respectfully, responding promptly, diligence, having a strong work ethic, and paying attention to detail. And so, these are skills, and we've shared this study with our students, and we want to make sure that they understand how important these skills are. We've long recognized the importance of these skills, and we've been really talking to our students and teaching our students about these skills in a variety of ways for some time here at St. John's. One of the ways is through our innovative professional development class. This is a required class for all 1Ls. And during this class, we really touch upon the important career-related skills, academic success skills, and professionalism skills that law students are going to need throughout their time here at St. John's and beyond. We kind of kick off the class with our Student Alumni Career Conference, where again, we employ the assistance of our dedicated alumni to come and assist. And students get to hear about the day in the life of an attorney in a variety of practice areas. And it's really the first time that they get to take all that they're learning in law school and see how it's applied in a practical legal setting, as well as start to hear from our alumni and hopefully to start to develop relationships. We then go into a variety of courses that they'll take throughout their fall and spring semesters, and we'll cover topics like resume and cover letter writing, interview skills. As I mentioned, we'll talk about academic success strategies like time management and outlining and exam taking. And we'll touch upon very important professionalism skills like wellness and legal ethics. And we really feel that through professional development, as well as other practical courses that we offer here at St. John's, we are preparing our students to enter the workforce. And Tom, I think you're going to tell us a little bit about some of the other ways and other courses that we help to develop our students' professionalism.
Yeah, thanks. And as one of the adjuncts that teaches the externship seminar, Jeannie and I kind of sat down after that study came out and said, look, what are the ways that we can continue to reinforce these skills with our students, right? And I think, obviously the professional development class was the obvious one. When we spoke further and kind of talked through ways in which the externship curriculum could be modified in a way that we are also emphasizing the development of these skills. And so we were able to, through certain of the exercises and simulations that we conduct in that class, through many of the reflections that we engage in that class, we were able to kind of weave many of these topics throughout those discussions. And we did recognize that it was very important for the students who were being placed at these organizations and firms and agencies to be able to practice those skills that they were going to need to employ in those placements while they were in their externship class here at St. John's. So we took that opportunity. We also, in our skills-based classes, that's also a great opportunity for us to reinforce many of both the traditional skills and the professional skills with our students in the format that those classes are conducted and the way the curriculum is delivered. And then, of course, with some of our co-curricular activities, some that come to mind, like moot court and mock trial, those are great opportunities as well for students to continue to hone those skills, which, the employers obviously are telling us are vital to the success of their new lawyers. So we've tried to incorporate, I would say, the development of the traditional as well as the the professional skills all throughout the student's career here at St. John's. So I think, Jeannie, we spoke a lot about the traditional opportunities that were available, some of the new opportunities that have been that we've seen in the recent years. I think it's important, obviously, for some of the participants on our call today to talk a little bit about lateral opportunities, as I mentioned before. Those opportunities that are available, once you are an admitted attorney, and you're looking to, and you already have begun your career, and you're looking to make a move. And I think, we have the benefit of working with a lot of our alumni in connection with these lateral opportunities. We continue to provide services to our alumni post-grad. We have counselors here that can continue to work with those individuals on their resumes and other application materials, their interviewing skills, but we can also help them with identifying opportunities that might be of interest to them. And so we always encourage them, we start by encouraging them to think broadly, because like we said, there are many new opportunities that are being developed now that were not maybe traditionally offered when they were graduating law school or when they were law students. We also obviously encourage them to leverage the skill sets that they've developed. I can think of instances where we've had attorneys who have been practicing as litigators who then want to explore careers as transactional attorneys. And they don't really think, how could that be possible? What we encourage them is to think about the skills that they've developed as litigators, their negotiation skills, their client counseling skills, and think about how those skills are also relevant to the other opportunities they may be seeking out, like those transactional based opportunities. And then we also obviously encourage them, in their search to consider what we call hot practice areas at the time. And we'll talk about that, a little bit further in a minute. And so, Jeannie, why don't you, maybe you could speak a little bit about the job search strategies. Well, I'll speak a little bit about the St. John's side. I think I mentioned a little bit about how we're able to assist our alumni. I'll also add that we work with our alumni by providing them with access to our Simplicity job posting system, so we can provide them continued access to that for opportunities they may be seeking out. We also create weekly newsletters with new job opportunities on the lateral, specific to the lateral side, where we're also pushing those opportunities out to alumni who may not be actively looking, but in reading the newsletter may see, find an opportunity that may pique their interest. And then we can obviously speak to them about, the information we have on those opportunities, what we think the employers may be looking for, and advice on how to move forward.
Yeah, and in addition to everything that we offer here, of course, there are the traditional job search strategies that that students and graduates can employ, including job fairs and firm and employer websites, the outside websites that everyone knows about, like LinkedIn, where you can search for jobs. But I think one of the most effective job search strategies that we talk to our students and graduates about, and that we employ ourselves in our employer outreach, is relationship building. whether it's getting involved in bar associations and going out to events and meeting attorneys in different practice areas, doing informational interviews with our alumni. For us, going out and meeting with our alumni at their offices or at our alumni events and talking to them about their staffing needs and about what our students can offer. That is still the tried and true best job search strategy around. And Tom, you can attest to that because a lot of your job is going out on the road and talking to employers, including our alumni, about our students and marketing our students and how we can help our alumni and employers to achieve their goals by speaking with our students and hiring our students and our graduates.
Yeah, and I think Jeannie, what I've come to realize, and we've shared this, is clearly I think we have one of the most powerful networks that exists here at St. John's. We look at the alumni who've joined us today for this discussion, the alumni that we've continued to work with over the years, and the new alumni that we connect with on a regular basis. And I think, what we've come to realize is that, we have a lot of great people that are part of this network. And we have great people that recognize that these relationships are mutually beneficial. They're beneficial to the students who we have here at St. John's Law. They're beneficial to the alumni who are seeking out those students for their opportunities. And they're beneficial to the alumni who, at times in their career, will be seeking to transition into a different role as well. So really, I think, we try to get our students and our alumni to recognize the power of this network and the benefits that flow from that. So it's funny, Jeannie, we in the chat, I just saw it transitions perfectly into I think our next slide. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way. But talking about what we see some of the hot practice areas coming out of COVID and the pandemic. And I'm looking for the slide right now, but I don't see it in there. We talk about what we've seen now as some of the top growth areas in legal practice. And what we're seeing is a whole variety of areas, some of which I think we predicted and some of probably we couldn't have predicted. I'll start with mergers and acquisitions. A huge uptick in activity on the M&A side. Obviously, firms needing to bring on the lawyers to support the deals that are being done. Data privacy and cybersecurity, incredibly hot topic nowadays. Obviously, we're aware that many of the companies and institutions are very sensitive to this topic and are ensuring ways that they're bringing on lawyers to be able to guide them through these challenging times. Another area was labor and employment and litigation. I think on the labor and employment side, that's one that we probably could have predicted in the pandemic. And I think a lot of that, what we've seen is the uptick based on many of the recruiting decisions, the hiring and the layoffs that have occurred as a result of the pandemic. And then also, I think one area that we've spoken a lot about here as a team that we've seen, especially in the New York area, is in real estate. And it is somewhat surprising, I think, because when you traditionally think of like even the commercial real estate market and the difficulties that the challenges that they're facing there, you also look at, on the residential side and the housing boom that's going on and the refinancing. And so all the needs that are available there, but also on the real estate financing side, on the commercial side, we're seeing a real increase in the number of those opportunities that are becoming available. So I know, Jeannie, that was one of the questions that we had, which was, as a veteran attorney in private practice for the past 15 years, what do you see as the best opportunities post-COVID specifically? So anything that I may not have kind of hit on there that you may want to bring up?
Yeah, no, we talked about this, and I think you hit on everything that we spoke about, including some of the alternative careers and some of the less traditional areas that we spoke about earlier, including the compliance type positions, as well as the claims and insurance related positions, which we've been seeing more and more of. The other question that we had so far, Tom, dealt with, do we hold resume and LinkedIn workshops for alumni? As I mentioned earlier, the approach that we like to take is a very individualized and proactive approach. And over the years, we've seen that, panels and programming aren't necessarily as well attended by students and graduates as much as the one-on-one interactions. So we work with alumni all the time, and we invite alumni to send us their resume. Then we will work with them to critique it and finalize it. We'll help give advice on building a LinkedIn page and using LinkedIn to search jobs, and basically any alum that's interested in working with one of the career counselors in the office should feel free to reach out to me, and my contact information is right here. And I'd love to be able to connect you with a career counselor so you can work with us individually and have all of your specific questions answered, as opposed to, a general presentation.
Yeah, so I think, wrapping it up on our side, I think, from our perspective, the outlook is bright right now. We're very encouraged by what we're seeing. We're very thankful that everyone today took time out to spend some time with us to learn more about career opportunities in the law and the effects and the outcome of the pandemic. And we're happy to answer any additional questions that you guys may have.
As you mentioned, Tom, we're very fortunate to work on a regular basis with our alumni, both assisting as well as developing relationships on the employer side. So again, we welcome outreach from alumni to discuss any opportunities that either you are looking for or that you're looking to fill.
Thank you both. It looks like you got to all the questions. You probably answered a lot during your presentation.
Great.
Is there any last thoughts that you would like to share before we close?
I think we just want to thank you, Stacy, for inviting us and giving us the opportunity to speak with you and our alumni. Tom?
Yeah, no, we appreciate the opportunity. We always welcome the chance to connect with our alumni. And as Jeannie mentioned, we welcome the chance to further connect with anybody who might be interested in speaking further.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today, and a special thank you to Jeannie and Tom for such an informative presentation. For their complete bios, please go to stjohns.edu/APD series. Here you'll also find a schedule of upcoming webinars and past recordings. I hope you will join us next Thursday, February 10th at 11 a.m., where you will enjoy an interview with St. John's alum Alexander Katz, professional athlete and owner of Stadium Custom Kicks. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.